Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Hobby Dude 007 channel. Well, our Don Garlett's Dodge Challenger is in primer, and a lot of stuff's in the dehydrator right now, so I thought I'd take a few minutes and address a couple of questions I've had for some time now, on and off, by a few people, and that is concerning tools. So I'm also going to put out a little bit of a question to other content creators too regarding our tools. So stick around, we'll talk about them. Okay guys, up front, let me do a disclaimer real quick. First of all, a lot of the tools that we use are sharp. They can do some damage to you, so please, anytime you're using any of these tools, please use caution. Like most of us, I love tools. I can't go into Hobby Lobby. I can't go anywhere with Amanda or Harbor Freight. Everywhere I'm looking for tools or something that will make my hobby or even any other handyman kind of stuff, make it easier or quicker. So I'm constantly looking for or trying to figure out how I can adapt tools. And I need to apologize in advance too, because I absolutely know I'm going to forget a tool. There is no way I could sit here and go through every tool that I have right now at the workbench alone without this being way too long a video. But I do want to limit it. And what I decided to do was, okay, what are the tools that I use no matter what the level of detail, whether it's minimal or maximum, what are the tools that I use on every single project that I work on? So I'm limiting to this one. I may do a second part to it that goes into my scratch building tools and a lot of that kind of stuff later down the road. If there's a big response to this, then I may do that. But I'm going to leave out paint. I am going to touch on glue a little bit because that's a tool that obviously we can't live without, but I use so many different kinds of glue. I thought I would touch on that just a minute. In fact, we'll start with that one here in a second. But tools are really important. And again, to the other content creators, I want to ask you to do the same thing I'm doing. At a minimum, what are the tools you use on every single project that you use? Whether it's the minimal amount for like an out-of-box all the way through wide open, but even if it's just that minimal, what are the minimum tools you use? And that's what I'm going to touch on, and I got quite a few of those. So with that in mind, let's get started. One of my favorite all-time glues was always the Testors liquid cement with the needle applicator. And I think you can still get this, but it's not the Model Master brand. It's the same stuff. But easy to apply. It's always given me good results. When you're dealing with resin, you're always going to want to use a super glue, and this is not the only one I use, but this is the gel, and I apply it with a toothpick. I've got a little tray over here that I use, and as you can see, it's just an old plastic thing, and I'll throw this one away. I've got a stack of them somewhere, and I'll put just a little bit in a little spot right there, for example, and then I'll take a toothpick and apply it. But the gel works without running all over the place, and I also have the medium CA that is from Zap, and there's so many different brands. It's just whatever you've gotten used to over the years. And this is the medium thickness, and then the pink bottle I think is the ultra thin, and of course the zip kicker. I learned something from my buddy Clay Kemp that I had never done, and that is apply a little zip kicker to one side and apply your super glue, your CA, to the other side, and when you put them together, boom, they're done. Which, that was pretty ingenious. I can't remember which video he had it on. Go over and check it out. Clay does a great job with this stuff. But the Zap brand I've been using for so many years, and I know there's others out there, and it's just what I've gotten used to and what I like. But the main cement that I use, as I was showing you, that Testors, and my next thing for joints is going to be the extra thin from Tamiya and the quick setting. Both of these are outstanding. I will say this: you better have a lot of ventilation when you get this. This stuff is strong. But let me tell you, as far as a welding agent, welding and putting the parts together, You don't have to worry about it coming apart. This stuff is outstanding. Another one I like to use and have used for a lot of years is the Bondine, the Plastruct Bondine. This stuff will work on ABS, styrene, just a lot of stuff. You need something extra strong or you're trying to put two different plastics, this is what you want to use. This is some great, great stuff. That's about all I use in cements. My all-time favorite for many, many, many years was Ambroid Pro Weld, and as you can see, that one's now gone. This was awesome stuff, but it went by the wayside, and honestly, the Bondine is pretty close to it, though. For windows, I use the Testors window canopy type cements, what it is. I also use the what do they call that? Let me grab the bottle. It's right behind me here. Mod Podge. If you're going to use it on your clear parts, get the gloss. They also make it in a matte finish, so it'll dry flat. But and let me tell you, I will for the rest of my life not have to buy another bottle of this stuff. Look at the size of these things. We're talking 16 ounces. I've had these for years, and I have not even scratched. I mean, look at this. This one's probably closer to being full because I use the gloss more than any of them, and it's probably right in there. This stuff will just go forever, and it's a great bond for your clear parts. Get these back out of my hand here. I also use epoxy from time to time, but it just depends. It just depends. And like I said, there's so many paints. I'm not going to touch on paints because we're going to stay focused on tools here. Let me adjust the camera here a second. There we go. Okay, as far as the hands-on tools, you know, the first thing that's got to come to mind has got to be our hobby knife. And I know I've joked and played around with hobby knife. But these things, let me tell you, I keep several around. I keep one with a relatively dull blade. I keep one with a fresh, sharp blade. I have one with a chisel blade so I can do some scraping. And I don't know if you can see that, but a chisel blade so I can get down and if I need to kind of ease some stuff up or scrape something, this is great for that. And in one of my recent videos, y'all know I joked about the little Luca. Well, I actually do use this, and you notice the blade that I put back in this one. This is actually a great thing for when you want to scrape some paint away for your glue joints and you've got to get into something. This thing is so much easier than the long handle to get in, and with that curved blade to be able to maneuver around a little bit. This thing does get a lot of use. So the little Luca wasn't just a showpiece. I found these things at a swap meet some years ago. In fact, I want to say it was Atlanta, and I bought two of them, and they do get a workout. But hobby knives are very important, and that goes without saying. Next up is my putty knife. And many of you know my favorite putty, and I use several hobby putties too, but the Bondo glazing and spot putty has just always worked for me. And again, I know there's some two parts that I've used that are just great stuff, but for the purpose of model cars, this has always done the trick. All right, here's, for example, the finished part that I just put on the dash for the Dungarlet's Challenger. And of course there'll be carbon fiber decal over this stuff and the switches and all that stuff, but eliminating that stuff. But this has always worked for me. And by the way, guys, no matter what I use, whatever works for you, stick with it. Stick with it. Just because I use it don't mean you have to. And I know Lucas, and I know a lot of people hate that red spot putty. And then applying it, the putty knives, I have this thing that I picked up years ago, don't even remember where, but just a putty spreader. And when you want to get some putty into those vents and cracks and crevices, the thing I use is a pointer, and the other side's got a little scoop, and then you can kind of smooth things out. I think this is part of a set for sculpting clay or something like that, but it's really been a very good tool for me, and it's something I've gotten used to. And another thing is for scraping and cleaning out those door jambs and trunk areas. This is just a dental pick that I picked up at a some jockey lot somewhere or flea market type thing, and they were just selling some old ones, and but very sharp, but they get down in there and they can get into spots that your X-Acto can't sometimes, to clean them out before you paint or primer. And then the Scribe, the Tamiya Scribe. These things come with several blades and the handles back here extra. These things are really sharp, and let me tell you, they just glide smoothly. This is just an absolutely great tool. And again, guys, these are tools that I use on every single project. One of the first things I do is rescribe the panel lines and things like that, get that stuff lined up. Let's see. Next, I pretty much wire about every engine I do. So let's look at the drill bits and the hold on here a sec. My camera keeps adjusting itself a little bit. Drill bits, I have 4 or 5 of these little sets of these micro drill bits, and then I have the pin vices that have whatever bit in them, and these things you just put down and then turn and drill through. This one is one that for larger things I'll use, because this one you can hold it in one spot, and then well, it's kind of hard to see, but all you have to do is when you get it centered, just slowly do this, and as you see, it's turning and it drills out. This has been one of my favorite little pin vise drills. Nice little thing there. And when it comes to drilling stuff too, Art Lasky came out with this thing a while back, and he's out of them quite a bit because they're so popular. But the dead center drill starter, when it comes to your spark plug wires, my big thing with this one is when I'm going to drill out exhaust pipes or any kind of pipe to open it up to start to get dead center. And let me tell you, this thing is, I don't know if you can see it. I guess I should have taken it out. This thing is absolutely awesome. There we go. But it is it is really something. If you don't have one of those, Art Lasky scaleproshop.com, you need to pick up one of these. These things are awesome, and I use it on every single project. And again, guys, everything I'm showing you is stuff that I use on every project. Sometimes when you have to square up something, I'll take out, and usually I do this on chassis, but I'll take out my razor saws, I'll measure and mark, and then I'll do that. And what I do that with is either my Murphy's rule, and I get my exact measurements, and let me readjust my lighting here a little bit. Get my exact measurements, and then you've seen me use this puppy a lot. And I've got a digital, but I just have always used this particular one over the years, and it has been my workhorse when it comes to my dial caliper, because I can get an exact measurement size, go back, transfer that over, and I won't have to worry about the other side being a mismatch. It's going to be exact based on the measurements. And I can take it, whatever measurement I got on my Murphy's rule, I can take, turn around, transfer that to here, and I've got a place to mark with my artist pencil or whatever I'm using there. But these two get used on every single project. That way I can line up exhausts, all kind of things like that. Just fun little tools. Sandpaper, of course, whenever we're getting rid of mold lines, the mold seams that are factory, the round indentions, a good coarse sandpaper. I also use sanding sticks. These are from Stevens, but these things are coarse and fine. There's about, I think there's 6 different grits available. This is a more fine to smooth things out. And you've seen me use this many times too. And this is my sanding pen. You can get these at Home Depot. I think Harbor Freight still carries them. You can get the refills. Usually there's one refill that's down in the back there. And what it is you just run this out, and you see as that comes out, this is very stiff fiberglass strands. See if I can get a little bit of sanding dust out of it. But you want to get into a tight spot, and again, there are replacements for these, but you get this down in your little spot there and just work away, and it'll sand it right off. This thing is worth its weight. I think I've got 2 of them, and I've used these things for a number of years. But it's just called well, you can barely see it, spot sanding pen. But this gets used for those mold lines and some of the seams on every single project. From Stevens also, you got various grits of these little thin things that you can get into cracks and crevices and work. And of course, I've got probably a dozen jeweler's files. These are the 3 that I use most. This one's a triangle shape. These 2 are flat and different widths, and they get a workout as well. But files and sanding equipment, and of course sandpaper, I've got it in tons of grits. And when it comes to the bodywork and the finish and just fit, honestly, just a piece of sandpaper will do what this stuff will do too. Let's see. Oh, when we're taking our stuff off the sprue, any of y'all just take and twist it off? If you admit that, I'll slap you. Anyway, good side cutters. This is a really, as you can see, this is a really, really old set of side cutters or sprue cutters, sprue nippers, whatever you want to call them. This is an old set that I still use for some things. My newest set is this Tamiya set. These are pricey, but let me tell you, I have never seen a set of sprue cutters or side cutters that are this sharp. Guys, you barely got to do anything, and it's cut. I mean, these things are amazing, and they cut. I mean, you see that? It's almost like there's nothing there, and I mean, they cut clean. Again, they're pricey, and but these have turned out to be worth it. Those were a Christmas present because I was too cheap to buy them on my own. Another set, now these are from Zuron, and these, if you're going to get into some really tight areas on the sprue, and every now and then you see that, and I know some aircraft and some other guys who turned me on to this one, but basically it's a long, I don't want to say needle nose, but a long nose set of sprue nippers that'll get up into areas, and they cut a really close, tight cut. I don't know if that made any sense, but next up is, this is something that I use for a lot of reasons. It is a cutter. As you can see, it is a cutter. But I will crimp exhaust pipes, different things. You can put it in there, crimp a little bit, turn it the other way, crimp a little bit. It'll give you a great look. But it also, for if you're cutting metal, or like I do exhaust tips, things like that, I will use these. But nice little handy tool to have as well. Tweezers, oh yeah, I use all kinds of tweezers. I've even got this set of needle nose that, if you can see, I've cut some grooves in it so it will hold some things when I'm putting them in place. Especially on some of the stock cars, when you there's certain things you have to get done first, but when you're getting them in there, and sometimes tweezers just don't hold them quite as tightly as these will, and without deforming or damaging what I'm doing. Is why I've cut those grooves in there so I can hold them steady. So these have been an invaluable thing for me. You just got good quality. These are from Tweezerman. Good quality tweezers, because if you've ever dropped something and it's gone in the black hole, you can appreciate good tweezers. Got a set of surgical suture tweezers that have the teeth on the ends, so it's kind of like this, they interlock, and you don't have to worry about dropping anything then too. And of course, you've got to have a good high quality end of curved tweezers. And I also have, for just something quick, just these old, and I mean these are really old, tweezers, and just another set of stainless. I think these were dental, I think, originally, but just curved. And all of these get used on just about every project that I do. Clamping engine halves together, things like that. This is just stuff from Harbor Freight. If you'll look at some of the sale things with certain purchases, and I don't know if they still do this, but there was a time that with so much in a purchase, you got like a 2-pack of these for free. And for putting an engine block in there when you do the halves together, and it's just perfect. And you can get them in a variety of sizes too. I also use these little jobs for a number of different projects. And the other thing is forceps, that same jockey lot that I got a few things from. That's where I get these things. They're just old, I think, dental or surgical. And for holding things or reaching things, these are also really good. And you can lock them together. As you can see, some paint on this one. Well, probably on this one too. I've cleaned that one up a little bit. Another thing is, when you're using the Dremel, whether it's from metal or plastic, you can put this on the lightest clamp and hold something while you're cutting away without having to worry about getting your fingers or anything. But I've got probably got a dozen of these things in different sizes and lengths, and with the curved ends and all of that stuff. But these are things that I use, guys, on every single project. And like I said, for scratch building and other things, I've got the chopper. I've got my what do you call the caliper that gauge for shapes and stuff like that. And I may do, if like I said, if there's enough response on this one, I'll get into some of the scratch building tools and things like that. But that is the tools that I use on about every single project. And I don't think there's a model that I have done or am currently working on that every one of the tools I just showed you are not something that I get into that I use. Because they are very invaluable. Now I got to rearrange them a little bit. By the way, that thumbnail picture in the beginning, when I piled them up, and just to take a picture of all the tools together, I really regret that, because you know how long it took me to straighten some of that back up. But anyhow, well, guys, that was it. Content creators, listen, guys, jump in and share with the guys what tools you use. And to be honest with you, it's a little self-centering or self-interest for me, because I want to know what you use too, because I may see a tool. As much as I love tools, you guys are probably going to come up with a tool that I'm going to go, ooh, man, I didn't think of that. Oh, I got to have one. So I may rush out and get one too. But yeah, let's share that, guys, with the rest of the community. And in the long run, we're just helping each other. Hey, guys, appreciate you sticking around for this one. Wow, over 20 minutes. I did not realize it was going to get that long. But guys, I appreciate you. Love you. Mean it, man. God bless you. And if you're not a subscriber, head over and hit that subscription button. Give us a thumbs up if you got something out of it. I appreciate you guys. We'll see you in the next video. God bless.